Today's guest is Taylor Nosakhere, and she is a mom of 3 boys, and 2 of those are fraternal twins. So she's a busy mom, and she's married to her high school sweetheart, and she is a doula and prenatal coach. So welcome, Taylor.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Oh man, I feel like I could say so much. I'm all over the place half the time. Um, so funny enough, I actually went to culinary school. My background is that, and I
Wow.
was working full time as a catering chef, and I just got this itch to like do something else. And I ended up learning how to teach yoga, which spiraled me down the rabbit hole of like wellness and um, just learning about other ways of living. And then I got pregnant and dove down the rabbit hole and became kind of a birth junkie. And I have been in the entrepreneurial space for probably 5 years now, but it has definitely evolved a lot. And I pushed away being a doula for a long time because I thought, there's no way I can be on call all the time and like have a young
Right.
family and how's this going to work? And just the more I have surrounded myself with other moms that are doing it and other really like just empowering women, like I just realized how much is possible. And I'm just so
Mhm.
excited now to be going into it full time. And it's crazy doing it with kids and juggling
Yeah.
childcare and all the things, but I just don't think that I could go back to working just like for someone else at this
Right. Right.
point.
Yeah. The entrepreneurial heart that you have, right?
Hmm.
So something that you had written to me about living greater is you said it's non-negotiable for you to do anything that doesn't fill your cup and light your soul on fire. And you talked about being a mother and doing motherhood your way. So what does that mean?
Yeah. So obviously there's certain things in our life that we just kind of have to do. We can't, like, not everything in life can be fun, but I truly believe that it should be non-negotiable for moms to be carving out time, and anybody, not just moms, to be carving out time to do the things that truly light them up. And
Mm-hmm.
for some moms, that is just going to brunch with friends or going to the yoga class. For others, it's like, being a homeschool parent or like actually sitting down and doing like crafts with their kids. For me, it's having an impact on women and moms outside my house and being able to like truly make my own money and do um things just that I guess the big word I can just say is like impact.
Mm-hmm.
um and so I just think that it should just be non-negotiable in your life that you should find that thing or those things that truly light you up and do them. um make space for them. I think it will make you a better mom. I truly, truly believe that. Um, and when it comes to doing motherhood your way, I just feel like culturally there is this vision of what the perfect mom should be. And everybody has their own kind of vision, but it's so unobtainable. You've got to work like you don't have kids and be a mom like you don't work. And have the clean house and have the Pinterest perfect birthday parties. And it's just, why? Like, if you
Mm-hmm.
just want to throw some pizza on the table for a birthday party, like, do it. If you are the mom that feels like you need something outside of your kids to fill up your cup, like to have your own business or to work outside the home, do it. If you feel like you want to be a stay-at-home mom and that is what lights you up, do it. I think that we fall into the trap of wanting to fit in, and I shouldn't say trap, it's like in our, ingrained in our hierarchy of needs, right? To like fit in. But if all the people and moms around you are doing things one way you kind of feel guilty when you want to do it a different way.
Mhm.
And I just think that it's so crucial that you stand in your own truth in motherhood and just do it your way, because that's what's ultimately going to make you the happiest, and kids want you to be your kids want a happy mom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think when you're talking about trap, it's a mental trap. You're creating this own
Hmm.
box or space that you think you have to live in when you can just live in
Hmm.
your however you want. So what
Yeah.
are some tips that you might have for somebody? I mean, you're a busy
Mm.
entrepreneurial mom. So what are some tips to help you be able to do that creative outlet or move forward with other things besides being a mom and include your kids?
Yeah. I'll be fully transparent in saying that I think this is an ongoing learning curve for me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely still kind of figuring that out.
I think for anyone,
Yeah.
it's always a journey because our lives are not the same at any one point, right?
I
We're
know
always
it's
progressing or
constantly
moving forward.
changing.
So yeah.
But I will say some of the things that I have tapped into is really learning how to ask for help and
Mm.
actually like allowing that help.
Yeah.
um because when we found out we were having twins, we decided to move to a bigger home, and we purposely looked for a home where we could move my mother-in-law in with us. And I know everybody doesn't have that luxury, but that was something that it took a little getting used to for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing a space with someone else, and you know, they have a different way of like cooking and putting the dishes away and just those little nuances.
Uh-huh.
But being able to accept that help has been such a game changer. Being able to call my husband at 3 or 4 o'clock when he's still at work and say, hey, today's been rough and I haven't gotten any work done, and I'm going to need you to come home and take over so that I can take care of the kids. Or are you able to come home early today? Like, I need to get XYZ done. Being very, making it clear your needs
Mm-hmm.
um, with the people around you. And I totally understand that I'm saying that from a place of privilege and not everybody has that. Um, but I think if you don't know what you want and what you need, and you don't know how to communicate it with whoever you do have, you'll never get it.
Yeah.
um, and then another thing that I've tapped into, honestly, is, and maybe this is more from a business perspective, because I can write it off on my taxes, but I have coaches. Like, I actually started working with a productivity time management coach last year, changed my freaking life. Right now, I'm working with a business coach. I have been in doula training programs, communities. Like, community is so huge. Finding your people that you vibe with. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes just like the mom group is not it. And you have to find, and a lot of that can be found online if you don't have that in person. Um, those are just some things that come into my mind.
Yeah. And I think, well, as you mentioned about maybe the mom group isn't it, is because your mindset is somewhere else. Like you want a different need met. And so for
Yeah.
some, it is that social group of just being around other moms with little kids or whatever it is. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's just depends on your need that you need met. And so that's the group that you should
Yeah.
search out and try and find.
I,
So
I joke though that when I schedule play dates, that I do it because I like the mom, not because like less about I'm like, my kid's gonna like whoever the other kid is. Like, he's a kid, he doesn't care, but I want to like be friends with the mom.
right, right. And it becomes a win-win, right? For
Yeah,
the kids and the
exactly.
moms. So
Hmm.
so as a doula, so you got into yoga and all these fitness things, and then how did that take you to being a doula? Like, what was that transition like?
Man, it was kind of multi, like, there wasn't just like a linear step.
Uh-huh.
I um My mom was actually a doula and a childbirth educator when
Okay.
I was growing up. She's currently a lactation consultant. So I've been that was like always kind of in the back of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but never as something that I thought I was truly going to pursue. And when I went down the rabbit hole of yoga, I think the way that path kind of took me was more I wanted to start a business, and I decided I was going to start a yoga business. And then when I got pregnant and realized I was just so obsessed with all of the things that I was learning about pregnancy and birth, and just kind of the unfortunate ways in which our culture handles birth, manages birth, um, how the systems are not really set up great for moms to be centered, for families to be centered. And I just was like, I feel like I'm like an advocate in my blood. And I just like was like, I gotta do something about this. I have to talk to moms. I was learning about just some of the health concerns with kids like getting less and less healthy. And I was just like, I've got to start talking about this. I've got to start talking about like the healthy baby food I'm making, or the the maybe a little bit different ways that I'm doing things. And then it just kept coming up. The doula stuff just kept coming up, and I was like, no, 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 I can't be on call. I can't do that. And then I was finally just like, I ended up joining a Spinning Babies. I don't know if you or your audience is familiar with Spinning Babies, but it's uh a methodology, I guess you would say, about baby positioning, and creating space for babies so that labor is easier. And I took a training that was in 2019, October, and I was the only non birth worker in the room. And I just felt so like it was just an aha moment. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. These are the people I'm meant to be around. And ever since then, it's just kind of been like I couldn't push it away. I don't now I'm trying to think, what was your original question?
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah, of how you led into becoming a doula.
Yeah.
And so in what ways do you help women? I mean, we kind of talked about, we'll first go how you help women as a doula. Like, what does that mean for some people who don't understand what a doula is?
So I like to emphasize that I'm a prenatal coach and a birth doula, because there are some doulas that, well, first of all, I'll just say what a doula is because some people aren't familiar. So it's an emotional, physical, and informational support person. I am not a medical professional. A doula is not the same as a midwife. A lot of people think that they are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a saying called hands hands on versus hands in. So doulas are hands on, midwives are hands in.
Okay.
um, So I am not your medical professional. I am just your support person, your guide, your navigator. Um, and with coaching, we what I start all of my clients with is a list of journaling prompts. And I tell them, break out like a brand new journal and write down the answers to these prompts. Have your partner maybe look at them. And they're questions like, what are your preconceived notions? What are your fears? Where do you feel like these are coming from? And then moving into like, what do you want this experience to look like? The sounds, the smells, the way you're being treated. And then kind of the key question is, how do you want to feel? Which I think is something that maybe is left out a little bit when we're talking about birth plans and stuff like that. It's like, but how do you want to feel?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what are the top 3 emotions or adjectives or feelings that you really want to get out of this experience? Because no matter what happens in your pregnancy and birth, as we all know, like, it's not linear and we can't control our circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
We can still get back to those feelings, and we can still keep you in the driver's seat. So that's always my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move into like talking about birth options and really going into the fact, I have a core belief that like everything is an option. Um, and I truly believe that. If it's not an option at the place that you're giving birth, then you have the option to switch places you're giving birth. Um, everything is an option, and you get to choose. And so that is, diving really deep into that, deep into the options, and then being there throughout the pregnancy and the process of, how did your appointment go? Let's bounce out, like let's flush it out. how did you feel? Helping my clients trust their intuition is a key piece, because asking the right questions and then trusting your intuition is huge, because you can ask the questions to set the stage for how you want birthday to look, and
Hmm.
then gut check those answers as you're being given them and decide, is this provider, is this location in alignment with my desires and my values? And so that's really kind of the process that we go through. Um, and I just think that it's something that every mom needs to at least think about if she's not doing it with someone else, like a support person. And then obviously I'm there for the birth. If you hire me as your doula, for people that are out of my state, I do prenatal coaching for them and I have virtual options. But if I'm attending your birth, then there's that physical element
Hmm.
of actual physical support in labor, helping you with pain management. And there's a lot of mental work that goes into that day too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, as you coming up against different scenarios or different interventions are being offered, to be able to navigate those in real time and to have somebody that has been in your corner and knows what you want. And partners are great for that, but partners are also coming at this with like, but I don't want my wife, or I don't want my partner to be in pain, or it's hard for them to see you. Whereas for me, I'm like, I know what's normal. I know,
Hmm.
um, and so I'm able to really help the partner a lot too, which actually a lot of my clients are like, I kind of got this, but can you like help my partner not be a stress case? So that's a huge element of what I do too.
Well, I think that's neat how you said, with your questions and that journaling. I never thought of that. Like when I went through, it just kind of went through, he just did it. But when I had babies and stuff, but the journaling of really diving deep into how are you feeling, what do you expect, things like that. And then not only the person that's pregnant, but also their partner, like you said, helping them to realize what are their feelings, what do they expect, and then have those come together. That's to me powerful and makes that transition of having that baby come into life, into the world, just a little easier,
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah. And for their partner to be, for them to be on the same page,
Yeah.
going into that experience, so that they can, so that maybe the person who's not giving birth can help advocate and be the thinking brain for the person giving birth, so that that person can just kind of stay in their animalistic labor land and not have to do all that thinking on birthday.
Yeah. So we had talked a little bit maybe before about how this comes into play with just moms who have birth children, and how your methods help them even post having kids and things like that.
Mhm.
Can you explain how that works, or how that would help them?
Yeah, so I feel like this is kind of a twofold answer, because I think that the reason why I'm so passionate about starting at birth is because I think that the way we birth our babies affects how we go into motherhood. So that's one reason why I am so passionate about that piece of it. When you're feeling unseen, unheard, not validated, kind of disregarded, um, kind of like you're just not being centered in your experience. I have a lot of moms tell me, like, I felt like it kind of happened to me. That doesn't set you up for a very empowering start to your motherhood journey. And I want moms, even if it's their second, third time, to be able to go into that next beginning essentially with the knowledge, like with the knowing and the feeling of like, I did that the way that I wanted to do that. Even if things veered from the plan, like I was the one choosing. I was the one driving the car.
Hmm.
Um, but for the moms that are listening, that, they're done having babies, the births have already happened. I can't go back and change that. The methodology, the steps, I feel like cross over so smoothly into motherhood, because I think when we're able to get quiet and to picture like our motherhood experience and decide, is this truly the experience I want to be having? We can, the exact same steps, we can look at, well, I kind of was yelling at my kids and running around like a chicken with my head cut off and not being super present and all of these things. And that's kind of like the past birth, right? We're like processing it. We can process that experience um, of motherhood that we're maybe currently having, and then we can look ahead and kind of, maybe not the same journaling questions, but similar questions of like, well, what do I want my experience to look like?
Hmm.
What would make me happy? How would I want to feel in this motherhood experience? And then once we know that, just like once we know it with my birth clients, I'm going to then take them through birth options and come up with like maybe a birth plan, a birth preference sheet. Same thing in motherhood. Once you know how you want to feel in motherhood, then you can actually start taking the steps towards it. But you can't do that if you don't know what you want first.
Right.
And if I know that I want to be more present with my kids and, more patient and I don't know, I'm trying to think of another one off the top of my head, but if that's what I want, then I can't keep saying yes to everything, overloading my calendar and neglecting the things that light me up. Like
Hmm.
I have to start taking the steps towards that thing. And I think that that's where this really translates. It's like you've got to know where you want to go and you've got to be willing to take the baby steps to get there despite your thoughts that are going to get in the way and say, "Oh, but that's not possible for me. I don't have my mother-in-law living at home. I don't have, you know, but what do you have? Can you get creative?" And if you're not willing to get creative, then you're basically saying that you're okay with the experience that you're currently in, which maybe you are. But if you don't like that experience, then you need to get yourself out of that uncomfortable.
Yeah. So maybe see, yeah, figure out what your priorities are, how you want
Mhm.
things to be, and then take steps to making those
Mhm.
priorities fit in how in your day to day or your schedule or whatever. Just like you said even earlier about having that time to be with your children or whatever. So
Mhm.
if that's a priority, you need to make it a priority and
Mhm.
meaning do something about it to make that
Mhm.
happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll add to that, like, this is way easier said than done. And this
Yeah.
is always a work in progress, and you've never arrived. I mean, my husband joked with me. He's like, you call me crying like once a week. I'm like, I know, but I just had to like get it out. So, like, even the people like doing the work doesn't mean that everything's just hunky dory. Like, you're just taking baby steps, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, day to day changes, and so we have to adapt to. And um, it's never perfect. It's a journey,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
What does that look like when someone has you as their coach? Do like you said, you can do it virtual and in person, and
Mhm.
so um, virtually, let's say virtually, how would you help them? You just have meeting sessions with them and help them and guide them that way during those sessions.
Yeah, so even my clients that are in the city, in Kansas City, I still give them the option to do their first two sessions virtually, and we just do them over Zoom. I really like to see people's faces. Um, and so a virtual client would just get that face to face with me. They get Voxer access to me, and then I will like to do demos. So I'm working on getting together some actual videos that I'm getting recorded and things like that. A birthing class with my partner that will be my students, my clients will have access to. Um, that will have more live action, like this is what this comfort measure looks like,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But I'll like push the camera back and show them on the chair, show a movement or demo things, really showing the partner, like um, providing just a visual example so that the partner can see, oh, that's what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, that's kind
Okay.
of how it works on that end.
Okay. So where can people find you to get in touch with you?
So I am on Instagram the most at my name, which is the weird long last name, Taylor Nosakhere. So it's Nosakhere. And I show up there pretty much every day, but today is actually, I mean, at the time of this recording, I should say, um, my private Facebook group is going to be launching today, Driver's Seat Moms,
Okay.
and I have a private podcast that I am so excited to. It's actually also launching today, so at the time that your listeners are listening to this, hopefully it will be just like a thriving group. And I'm so excited. I go live in there once a week, or I will be. I've been doing it on Instagram, but I'm going to be going live in there once a week, just like free live coaching, pick a doula's brain, live Q&A. The private podcast is the 7 steps to getting in the driver's seat of your birth experience. And I do have my website. I guess I haven't even said my business name because I don't I don't know, I use my name so much, but With You Wellness is the name of my business, and that is my website, With You Wellness. I think it's withyouwellnesskc.com. I should know my own
Yes.
website. Um, and so that is where you can find out all about like my services and my offerings is on my website, but
Okay.
plenty on Instagram as well.
And you said you had something for the listeners also that they can take advantage of.
Yes, I would love them to get into that private podcast and or my Facebook group because there is going to be so much value there. And even if your listeners are past the point of having kids, um, I was actually sending out my podcast to some coworkers, some colleagues, some peers to just kind of let me know their feedback. And there was a couple of them in there that were either done having kids or not even moms yet. And they're like, I'm pulling nuggets out of this. Like, we're talking about self-trust and we're talking about arming yourself with information. And just like a lot of these concepts really do translate. And then my Facebook group is very much not just geared towards pregnancy and birth. I will be talking a lot about that in there, but then also, just like we were just talking about earlier, like talking about how moms should be doing what lights them up and kind of granting, even though you don't need one, permission slips,
Mm-hmm.
just like, hey, I'm doing this, you can do this too. And so those two places and that podcast is, man, it's like 11 episodes. It's probably a little more than an hour's worth of content, and I've broken it up so it's like the longest episode I think is 15 minutes, but you should
Okay.
get tons of value out of that.
So great support group sounds like, and just
Yes.
place, yeah, a good resource. Did you have anything you would like to share with the listeners before we close?
We all want to be the best moms we can be, right? And there's always going to be something in our like peripherals that's going to make us think that we're not doing enough, that we're not adequate, that we're not doing all the things we possibly could be doing. But I think that the one thing, if you can just, again, reiterating, like find that thing that truly makes you happy, that lights you up, that not just like, I'm not talking like surface level self care, I'm talking like truly lights your fire, and make time and space in your schedule, even if you're in a season where it's just a little bit. I mean, I was making reels on my couch while breastfeeding my twins because I needed that outlet and it truly kept me going. And like, if you can just make a little bit of time and space in your schedule to do that thing, I just truly think that it's going to make the world of difference in how you're able to show up as a human and show up as a mom.
Yeah, it will give you that energy that you need to keep
Yeah.
moving forward and keep progressing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that,
And doing it
all,
without guilt,
yeah,
without guilt.
yeah, just doing it because you want to do it. Just, it helps you and not to be showcased, but just to really
If
help.
you are able to do that thing and feel full and excited and energized, you are going to bring that energy then to your kids. And So yeah.
And they can tell.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. Well, thank you so much, Taylor. I appreciate you being with us today and for sharing your knowledge, because knowledge is power. And so, and for people to understand a doula, what the doula is, and also just how what you share applies to anyone. Just that finding that thing that lights you up, right? To re-energize yourself. And I appreciate you sharing that. So
And
thank you
my
so much.
DMs are always open. I love connecting. Like it's one of my favorite things. So
Okay.
if you have questions about anything, like just DM me on Instagram.